Oh, I heard something then. What was that?
Try again.
That wasn't me.
I think that was Berg. I heard Berg play some music then. All right, we are live, and there's people in the chat room waiting nicely and patiently.
Play some music then.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
We are live.
Oh.
Now,
There's people in.
who can I hear that coming back through? 1, 2, 3.
No one now.
That was you. Okay, cool. Hello to
Was that
everybody.
you, Darren, was it?
Yeah, it was Darren.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we've got is Berg is just sorting out his audio interface issues. He's got some sort of drama with his computer. It's not playing ball. While he troubleshoots that, he is talking to me through Facebook. I can't hear anything from you at all. So yeah, he's just trying a few things out. Okay, we will persevere. I've got to keep an eye on messages that I get through. As you know, there's always dramas with anything to do with computers these days. I don't know why it is that way and why things aren't simple. Why can't they just work? But anyway, so Berg is going to try and see if he can get his mic working. And in the meantime, we've got 15 minutes before the main show starts. So we can this is the whole reason why we have this 15-minute pre-show. It's to test the waters.
Can you just switch me across a bit, Rans?
Do you want me to change you? Right. I can. Let me have a play.
I can't move.
Let me have a play.
It's got the best looking side of you though already.
What? None?
Yeah, there you go.
2, 3.
Oh, now it says.
Oh, he can hear something.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you, Ollie.
1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. You got it, man.
Yeah,
You got it.
got you.
Awesome. Do I need to boost anything?
I'll get rid of that.
Clear.
Yeah, hang on a sec.
Boost.
I've got to do this first. Let me just do this for a sec. Quick. I'm in a different screen. All right, talk again, Mr. Berg.
1, 2, 3. Testing.
Yeah,
Talking.
You're perfect. I'm probably not, but you are.
Right.
Let's see what the guys in the chat say. Guys in the chat, we're going to do an audio test. Starting with me, I'm doing one right now, and so I'm Ramsey. If you don't know who I am, and you can tell me whether my audio is coming through okay. You're happy with that level? Now we'll go to Darren.
1, 2, 1, 2. Check. I'm on a standard little mic, so is that all right?
I think it's fine. And now Berg.
1, 2, 3. Testing.
I think you're nice and clear. And now Dean. No, you've muted yourself somehow, mate. So we'll come back to you, Dean. Oh no, there you are. No, you're there. You're there. Keep going. Try it out.
How's that?
It's very quiet. What have you done?
I've got to try and find a microphone stand, which I had a little bracket.
All right, you sort that out. Andy, we'll go for you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that working all right?
Some Swedish.
Nice. Very good.
Been learning, you see.
Very, very good. All right.
Brilliant.
We'll have to persevere. Now, I'll just let you know that Dean and I have been mucking around with his audio settings tonight so that we can get some synths through Dean's connection for you guys, because he's got a really, really cool studio there. And
Awesome.
we've still got some issues with his mic, and he's got a few, I don't know. We've got a few things to iron out, but look, I think we've got it to the point where he can actually demo some stuff, which is good. Other than that, we have got a pretty interesting show today. It's not really sort of the general type of show that we do where we set one topic and we kind of just crap on about that topic. What we've got now is we've got a show where basically during the last couple of weeks we've been hit with a whole bunch of questions from people saying, I'd like the show to be about this. And some of the questions you could probably run a whole show on, but some of the questions you can only talk for 5-10 minutes about. So what we thought we'd do is we'd sort of sandwich a few topics in together and just kind of sort of go with the flow. And it's good too because it's pretty quiet news week, so we can sort of skim through the news and we can get straight into the main guts of what we're all about, talking about synths and studios, and that's sort of our life anyway. So hopefully this is an interesting sort of spin on how, and my role tonight will literally be, I'll probably offer a few opinions here and there, but I'm literally just, I want to pick the brains of these guys, right? These guys here, below me and next to me. They're here to share
do you want me to go?
the love. Well, you can if you want. I mean, if you want to be a, yeah. Do you want me to shift you over
There's
more?
not much to pick on my brain.
Do you want me to shift you over?
There's not much to pick on my brain.
Oh, rubbish. You know a fair bit.
Yeah, right, Darren.
You know a fair bit.
I'm muting myself.
Yeah. So we're not going to be doing any guitar talk. No, sorry, Mr. Azio Head. Well, we can if you want. I mean, I don't really understand what those strings do, but you know, we can try. I've got one over here. I tried playing it once, and everyone was abusing me that it was out of tune. I mean, what are you supposed to tune these things? What's going on?
Yeah, I remember.
Don't they just work?
Yeah, Native Yes putting his fingers in his ears, going.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I need to go get a beer.
All right.
1 second.
I probably need to.
Almost forgot it.
I probably need to do that. Andy, do you want to run? Just, I'm going to put you on for a sec while I go grab a beer as well, and you can just tell everyone what you've been up to for about 3 minutes.
What have I been up to for the last 3 minutes? Well, I got myself a beer. I've already done that. I poured it. I've taken a sup out of it. I put the glass back down. What else do you want to know? Yeah. Well, hello everybody. It's nice to be put on the spot. It's nice to be back. I had a little break. Funnily enough, it was like last Saturday. I was thinking, oh, it feels really strange. So yeah, it's nice to be back on with you. Nice to see you all. I hope you all managed to tune into some of the synth shows that have been on this week, like Pro Synth Network last night, because that was amazing. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it because it was great. Really, really brilliant. Very, very moving story. So that's my tip of the week. Make sure you watch Pro Synth Network from last night because it was amazing. Beer at this time of day, Native VS. Yeah, well, it's 1:45 in the afternoon. That's not too late. So I've got my little beer going on there. Oh, where's my microphone? There it is. One glass of beer. Right. So, what do people want to know? Yeah, I did the washing up this morning. I made a chili last night.
Well, let's all open our beers.
Some ironing, so my shirts are ready.
Cheers, guys. Welcome to Saturday.
Cheers.
Hey.
Cheers. Oh,
And if
that
you-
way, I'll get used to this one day. There you go.
And if you're not drinking beer, then drink something liquid. Drink water, whatever. I've got a big water here, so. I've got some more of these no-carb lager things left. I don't know, it's called Burley Big Head.
Did anyone say drink beer,
yeah, right.
Rans?
Yeah.
Consume beer?
When it says low carb, does that mean it's got no alcohol in it?
No, it's got alcohol. It's
Oh well, there you go.
4.2%. 1.1 standard drinks. Carbohydrates, 0 grams. It's got a fair bit of bloody salt in it, though, let me tell you. Right.
Salty beer. What's in this one?
Salty beer.
Beer.
What does that mean? I'm going to be
Water,
salty? Does that mean I'm
hops,
going to be a bit salty
yeast.
during the show?
Let's hope
Can you
not.
hear me, Rand?
That'll be a change.
I can, Dean. Yep. I can hear you, mate.
I'm trying to get my levels right just quickly.
You're going to need to come closer to that mic, mate, when you talk.
Stuck right next to the mic.
Super low.
Yeah.
Can't get the other one going.
I think it's fine, but just get intimate with that microphone for a while until you can sort it out.
It's going to have to be the way it is.
You have to literally just almost shove it right down your gob. It's going to be one of those things.
Right. I'll move to it when I speak.
Yep.
To do.
All right, cool. Okay. About 5 minutes before the show starts, we've got beers, we've got mic issues, we've got. I mean, if I could send you Dean, this mic that's sitting here on the boom stand, the NT1 from Rode, I just like shove it through the internet and you could just pull it out your end and chuck it in. I reckon that'd be awesome if we could do stuff like that. Like some sort of, you know, Stargate sort of particle transporter or something. Yeah, be awesome. And before we start the show...
That's about the only thing left from Star Trek that they haven't yet invented. You know,
yeah,
all those other things, that they're all now reality, aren't they? Those little intercoms, we've all got them. But, you know, teleporting something's about the only thing that they haven't yet fully managed to work out how to do.
Breaking matter up.
That's the big technical challenge.
Into some sort of computer file and then creating it at the other end. Yeah.
I read somewhere that the amount of energy that you need to completely obliterate a person, we don't even have that, you know, on the planet today, because you literally have to, you know, remove the person completely from existence, right, and read that into some kind of data buffer, and there's always going to be some residue left, right? So I don't think we're going to see transporting it, you know, in the next couple of weeks to come.
Oh, I'm crushed.
Not if it needs a
I'm so upset.
an OS update.
We're screwed, you know. Like I was hoping for Scotty.
We are.
I was hoping for Scotty to beam me up. I really was. Sorry, Scotty, if you're watching. You can put away your Scottish accent. Right, okay. Why don't we start the show early? Bugger it. Let's do it. Ready, set, go. Look, it's got a countdown. No, it doesn't. And bang. It's always pausing at that spot. It's weird. 27% GPU memory. Whoa, hello everybody. Oh, geez, what's going on? We're on some sort of weird live stream and we've got to be perfect and never make a mistake or anything. Anyway, happy Saturday to you. Cheers if you're not cheersing. Bad luck, I am. Synth show, we're talking about all sort of stuff to do with, I don't know, music tech, synthesizers, drum machines, that sort of stuff. What are we at? Episode 105? Wow, how the hell did that happen? It's crazy, right? Whoever's here watching us, big welcome to you. Thank you. And if you're new, please jump into the chat room and have a little say hi to us. We don't bite. We're all pretty friendly here. The chat room's pretty buzzy, actually. I just wanted to show you. It's, you know, you can see, look at that. Look how it's crawling like crazy. Look at that. Jump in there before your message disappears. But before we do any of that sort of stuff, we're gonna say hello to them individually. Why don't we say a quick hello to all these awesome people who have joined me on the video calls, starting with Darren. How's your week been? Big welcome to you.
Hello. It's been a bit, well, not the best because I twisted my back. So I've not been in the studio all week. I just couldn't sit in the studio, so I've not been in the studio. I've not done anything. Other than that, yeah, you could say it's been not too bad.
Oh, that's a shame. Back injuries are nasty.
If not being in the studio is good. Yeah, I had one a long time ago, and it's and believe it or not, I was doing something simple for the studio, and it was really simple as well. Last weekend, and yeah, so. Been out the studio for the whole week, really. Just popped in every so often just to have a look at an email or whatever I had. But other than that, no.
Oh, it's a shame. Well, I hope you get better, mate. Hope you get better. We'll talk some more about the simple thing that you did a bit later, because I think that's the most common cause of back injuries, is you're just doing something simple and then pop, oh, there she goes. Anyway, we'll jump over to Mr. Berg. Big welcome to you. Thank you for coming back again. It's been a little while. How's your week been?
Hey, guy. It's been, you know, so-so. More or less my daytime job has been keeping me busy. So been really hard getting the music rolling. So I have a little bit of a writer's block, if you will. But, you know, other than that, it's pretty good, you know. So soon going to be moving into a new house in maybe a couple of months' time. So I have this, you know, big task of rearranging and resetting up my studio in a new place. But that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Again,
like you just love doing this, I think, don't you? You just love setting studios up. Wow.
Hopefully this will be the last time.
I mean, I know how hard it is, and I didn't like it, and I was just moving the carpet. So yeah. Oh, that's awesome, mate. We will talk about this issue of writer's block today. So I think that's going to be a good subject. So we will talk about that for sure. Absolutely. Also, big welcome to Dean. Dean's been, starting to come along regularly now, which is good. And one of the cool things that Dean and I have been doing is we're trying to get his music gear working so that you guys can hear some of these awesome synths that he's got in the background in his studio there. So we might have a bit of a listen to that a bit later. But how's your week been, Dean? Tell us everything. Tell us all the details.
All the juicy details and gossip.
Come a bit closer to your mic, mate.
Yeah, sorry, I've got to get used to this. Unfortunately, the technical hiccups of onto the microphone problem.
Yeah, picture like a radio DJ type thing.
Yeah, yo, brother.
Yeah.
No, it's been a kind of busy week, kind of doing a lot more audio and sorting out the MIDI within the studio, which has been nice to start bringing stuff together and hear the sounds and, like I say, just doing the kind of like working out with the mics and stuff. I'm trying to find these little microphone stands. I can't find it. I had one in the kitchen. And he was sitting in there for like 6 months by a speaker, and isn't it so true when you want to go and find one? He's gone. But that's been my fun week. But I've had a good week. We've had sunshine over here in the UK. I'm down in the southwest, so been out for a couple of runs recently, so that's quite nice. So all good, really.
Fantastic. It's one of those things we put things in a safe place, and then the safe place never exists when we actually want it. That's it. Beautiful. And Andy's back. Look, everyone. I thought he'd left in disgust and is never coming back, but here he is. How's your week been, mate?
A bit like Darren, but not with me back. I've just had a dose of man flu and haven't dealt with that very well. So I took to my bed in a swoon for 2 days, really feeling very, very grotty. But yeah, I enjoyed having a break, actually. Forgive me for saying it, Rans, but I think Lisa said it before. It was actually just nice being in the chatties, chatting away. And what was really nice was seeing like other people come on, like Dean. So that was lovely. I've enjoyed having a bit of a time out, but it's good to be back. I'm really enjoying it. I've not been doing an awful lot in here. I've been messing about with my little modular system over there. It hasn't grown any since last time. Things have been ordered, but the orders have been put back by Andertons. This time I decided not to order through Toolman for one reason. I'll go through Andertons this time. They'll have it by February the 22nd, and then they told me that it's now going to be March the 2nd, so I'm now waiting to hear that it's going to be March the 22nd. So the new bits that I've ordered, they're not here yet and are unlikely to arrive in the next week or so. But yeah, it's just been a blast. I've really loved just playing about with this little thing that's over here. It's been quite inspiring. Really great thing.
We've enjoyed a couple of your jams that you've shared with us on YouTube, so thanks for doing those. That's been awesome.
There'll be another one going up fairly soon, but this time it's going to be a bit more atonal and nasty. I've been sort of messing about. See what I could make. Actually, just seeing what I could make the Model D do with things like cross mods and stuff. So it's a bit more. It's more like the introduction to a Tangerine Dream record this time, rather than the chunky thumpy bits. So, but that's going to go up hopefully tomorrow or Monday.
Oh, exciting!
Keep your eyes open.
Wow, cool. Okay, right. Well, why don't we say hello to the chatties? Why don't we do that first? So, big hello to you who's jumped in. And we will scroll all the way back to Netherlands when it first started. Who was first? Keith in Watford was first. He's got everyone have a drink for Keith. Then we had Sensian, Axel Soft Music, Corrosive Abuser, Mega Mark is there. Staying up late from Sydney in Australia. Crikey. Right, we also got Mike Delic, Corrosive Abuser, Sasquatch. Big hello to all of you. ASIO Head, JX3D, big hello to you, mate. Awesome having you on the stream yesterday. Foxy Nirvana's there. Max there. Sergio, good to see you, buddy. Big hello to you down on the southern part of America. Not south. We're not talking about Texas or anything. We're talking about the southern part of America, the South America part. So that's awesome having you. And what else have we got? Anyone new? A-to-Z's there, big hello to you. Haven't seen anyone new yet. It's always good to have a newbie though, isn't it? Native VS.
An Adrian Leotard. Not seen an Adrian Leotard before.
Oh, I haven't got there yet, but Richard Groltz is there. That's okay. You're allowed to put your leotard on if you like. Who else? Wayne Murray, big hello to you. QRDNK, big hello to you. Welcome back to you as well. Been on before, I believe. Anyway, Jane or Yana Seta, big hello. From the Baltic Sea. Wow. Okay, you're on a little cruise. You have to tell us a little bit more about that. Definitely interested in that. I almost thought cruise ships were pretty much gone in the wind from all that COVID stuff that they would have did. Pete Bedford's there. G'day to you, mate. Who else we got? I think we are just about towards the end. JP Page 2 jumped in just last. Almost there. I'm almost caught up to where you were, Andy. And you know what? Whenever I do this, they all jump in from everywhere. And see, we got. Was that one I just saw? Inner City Toad. Inner City Toad. That's a good one.
That's my mate Dave.
Hello, Dave.
That's D Best. Yeah, so if you've seen D
he's
Best
changed
before,
it.
he's in a City Toad.
He's
in a
changed it,
City
right.
Toad.
He's
Hi,
he's masquerading himself. We've got IP as well. And that's not the same as the other IP that we normally see. So this is an actual IP, not inverted popes. He's not actually anything you see. Zafla Music, big hello to you. We saw you yesterday. Thanks for joining us. Martin Unius, big hello to you. And then where's the petticoat one? I didn't see that one. Leotard or whatever it's. I didn't see that one. It's gone. It's not showing up. Pat Brady's there as well. Anyway, I think we're just about done. Look, if I haven't said your name, it's absolutely disgusting. And what I want you to do is get the biggest synth that you've got in the studio, like the big 88 hammer action keys, that big sucker, one that weighs a ton, and just throw it at your screen in disgust, because we can't have that. Right. Oh, we're stupid. Right, okay, let's move along. Let's even get even more stupid. Let's just do this part. Oh, it didn't glitch. Yay. Normally it glitches. Oh, I'm kind of disappointed it didn't glitch. Right, what do we got first? Oh, yes. So these were kind of all sent in to me from various people, JX3D. Actually, I don't know if you actually sent this one in, but anyway, extraterrestrials on Earth do these kind of cool patterns in, the crop, and then humans do this thing on Mars. And then, this is not me, this is whoever sent this in, right? And this is what he does on Jupiter.
So clever. That is so clever. Wrong, but clever.
Very, bit naughty. A bit naughty. Now, you guys probably would have seen the news during the week, that the Daft Punk news anyway. And what I thought I'd do is give you guys a free gift. So what you should do now is screen grab the screen right now, and you've got yourself a free blank template meme. So you can put any caption you like, because I'm just so sick of seeing these memes. You can put anything you like in this, right? I mean, basically, I could have chosen about 50 different memes, and it would have all been the exact same thing. But anyway, we get it. We get the joke, guys. Enough about the Daft Punk stuff, all right? Everyone's like, oh, I wanted something a bit funnier. Ah, dear. What else we got? Oh, yeah, this one. So welcome to heaven, here's your harp. Welcome to hell, here's your accordion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
right.
dearie me.
Dear me.
Hi to all the Italian viewers watching.
Or French.
Oh, French, yeah. I don't know if you've ever been to Pack Place, but people write synths because they can't spell. Say that one for me, Andy. You're the linguist here.
Synthositars.
Synthosizers. Yeah. That's what you tell your date when you are telling her what you're up to during the week. Right, who liked that? What was their favourite? Who wants to give a favourite out of that?
Mine, the harps, because I think that so much. I do think the accordion is absolutely the instrument from hell. If you want to talk to me, play an accordion at me.
Yeah, I'm probably agreeing with you. I think that was the funniest. Berg, have you got a favourite?
He's just pinged that he's silent again. Oh, he's back.
Oh, no, he's silent. You can use sign language. We can't hear you, mate. Sorry, I've just put you on the spot. You could get a texter and pens and yeah, I don't know.
Mini whiteboard.
Yeah, mini whiteboard. Let him persevere. We need him tonight. He's going to be important. So we need his mic working again. Dear me, he has been having trouble with his sound card, so please be patient with that. Let's get stuck into news, because I didn't say there was no news. I just said there wasn't very much news. Right, well, what you're seeing here is a blank template for me to put the first news item up, and boom, there it is. So yeah, I don't know if you guys were paying attention to my YouTube channel during the week, but yesterday we did a live stream with the founder of Sonicware from Japan, Dr. Yu, and we also had Evan, and we had Chris Lodi also, who's a fellow UK YouTuber. And that was probably one of the coolest streams I've ever done. And what made it even more interesting is I didn't have the synth in my possession. It was literally all the gentlemen overseas that were running the show, and all I was doing was just pressing buttons. So if you didn't see it, jump on my channel. It's probably the most recent video that's up there. I definitely recommend watching it. We did have a few little technical glitches during it, as you would with any sort of live stream. But I just wanted to get a quick sort of feedback here. Did any of you guys see the live stream yesterday, or watch it on the replay, however you say it?
Didn't know you were doing one, Ramsey. Sorry, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so it snuck in, didn't it? It's like, what's Ramsey doing on Fridays doing streams? So yeah, anyone interested in the Sonic where Liven XFM synth? It's a really, really interesting synth if you think to yourself, I've never really got into FM synthesis because it's just too hard to sound design. I'm getting sick of the patches. I don't want to upload any more of these DX7 patches. I'm so bored with it. This one is one of the ones where you can actually sound design on, and the way he's designed the synth and the sound design method in it is really, really special. And I think you guys should go check out that video, because they talk about how it works and how special it is. So yeah, if no one has seen it, please go check it out. I don't want to spoil it, because I think it's all contained beautifully in a nice little wrapper with a bow on top in that show.
Well, I'm going to go and check that out, Ramsey, because interesting enough, that the first few videos of that thing that I saw, I just thought, oh yeah, it's just another one of those. Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. And then I've seen a few more since, and each time it gets more and more interesting. And going, oh right, I see. So yeah, I'm quite keen to see that now. I didn't know you'd done it, but definitely we'll go and check that out, because I think this looks like a really interesting little box.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And look, I do. There's only so much I can post videos sort of up on social media. I don't want to flood social media with my crap. So the best way for you guys to know whether I've got a video coming is to subscribe to the channel. I know it sounds like it's a standard cliche that YouTubers say, but this is actually a proof now why subscribing to a channel and clicking those bell icons and all that sort of stuff is actually beneficial, because you don't miss out on notifications when...
But I've not had a notification to tell me that was being done. I've not seen a single one saying that you were doing a live stream on that, Rand.
So
and I am subscribed. But,
have you clicked the bell?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm definitely a bell clicker.
You're a bell clicker. Well, you can write to Google and complain. That's all I can say. Let's go to the next news item, because I felt that was news. It was definitely news. What about this one? I think this one was very interesting. So we did kind of learn a little bit about this during Sonic State on Wednesday, didn't we? So this is from GeForce software, which is run by Chris and Dave Spears. You would have seen on Sonic State on Wednesday if you didn't. But what I thought I'd do is just, for those who missed it, I'm sure there's a couple of people. I'm sure there's a couple of people that missed it. Why don't we look at this? Well, I don't think you can get any more synthy than that as a demonstration. And big hats off to Dave, because I know that he put a lot of work into that video. But doesn't that sound amazing for a VST? Wouldn't you guys agree? Who wants to go first?
Yes,
Comment about that one. Andy?
Well, I was going to leave others, but I've not been interested much in soft synths at all, to be honest, until I saw this and just thought, oh, now that really is lovely. Yeah, I think I'm going to get me this. But it's Mac only. Oh,
yeah.
Please, Mr. Spears. There are lots of us that still use Windows.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're old fossils, but yeah. So, I was a bit disappointed. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but it really does sound awesome. I mean, I don't know if it was last Synthfest or the Synthfest before that. So I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019. But Dave Spears was there with the actual 8 voice, his actual 8 voice, and it just looked and sounded awesome. It was great. So the fact that you can get one in software, I think is a wonderful thing. And we all know, G4 software has always been great. In fact, the first soft synth I ever saw was a G-Force one. It was their PPG that they did years and years and years ago, and was quite amazed. But never really investigated, but I might just with this one.
And I just popped up right over your head while you were talking that JX3D just said, you don't need the Windows version, just throw your Mac at your screen instead. Right. Who else wants to make a comment about VSTs, and especially the OBE? Anyone else interested in this? You can download a demo version, it's free. Or shall we move on? Moving on, all right. Well,
What does Darren think? Because Darren's got a Mac, hasn't he? So Darren, what do you think about this? Have you thought about it?
Muted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it just sounds lush, basically. And yes, I do have a Mac, but I'm using both Windows and Mac. But the good thing is, it is available on one of my platforms. So I don't know. I'll probably download the and have a tinkle on the free version and see how nice it really is. But since I use hardware and software, yeah, I like it. It's great. That's all I can say, really. It sounds lush, and I don't need to buy the real thing if I could.
Well, I mean, at the very, very least, we download the demo. The demo works.
Testing.
Yeah, you can hear you.
Oh, awesome.
Hey,
sorry about that.
Let's get a comment. Let's get a comment from you before it dies. Right? Let's get a comment of you.
Absolutely. So I saw the video, and I gotta say, the way that Dave Spears set that up with the teaser of the real OB8, the first in the beginning, throughout the entire video, making sounds and everything like it would have been done on that synth. And at the end of the video, he was like, by the way, it wasn't made on this synth. It was actually made on this VST. That was the troll of the year, in my opinion. Yeah. I just absolutely love that.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Very well done. All right, guys. Well, just remember too, if I ask a question and no one answers, I'm going to move on quickly. So you've got to jump in pretty quick because seconds on live streams are eternities where you can't have gaps of silence. All right. So we got number 3 coming in on the news is this interesting thing here. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at a Neutron, of course, but above it is this weird looking device that you plug in. Now, one of the things you guys will notice is that when you do put your Neutron in your Eurorack, you're missing out on all the ports on the back. And that's what this company is giving us. They're from France. So hello to all my French people. It's I don't even know what you call these guys. PH Neutref, I don't know. I don't even know what they're called. Anyway, and the whole website's written in French, but it's a kit extension main PCB for the Neutron. It's in the 1U IntelliGel format, and I don't know if it's actually in the standard Eurorack format, but it may be anyway. But what you can see here, it comes in 2 different colors, the red and the like a white face version. But what it does is it replicates all of those ports across the back of the Neutron, and I believe they actually are going to start doing it for some of the other Behringer synths that have got the same problem, which I think is very handy. And probably one of the most handy ones there is the fact that you can get access to the MIDI channel dip switch and the USB, as well as Some of those other things aren't quite as important, but that's pretty important because if you've chucked your Neutron, as I said before, in a case, you're missing out on all that cool stuff. What do you guys think of that? Is that a good idea?
Yeah,
I think that's brilliant,
I'm not
right?
quite sure
Because you know, have it in a rack obviously limits yourself from not being able to reach the stuff in the back. So, I think most of the manufacturers, especially when you're designing a 19-inch rack unit, you need to make sure that you have accessibility to all of the stuff on the back, because you will be scuffing that rack towards the wall, and you won't be able to get behind it, right, for the next couple of years, right? So it's very, very important to have all of those things exposed to whatever extent possible. And also, if you're going to use that in like a Euro rack, it becomes even more important, right? Because all of the stuff will be hidden within the rack. So, I mean, technically, you won't be able to get to those stuff without unscrewing the unit. So I think this is really good. So do we know if this is just like a lead extension thing, or does it have some actual additional, like functionality to it that's not in the original Neutron? Do we know that?
So there are some photos on the website. What can I do? What I'll do is I'll paste the link in the chat. It's like a ribbon cable that you can connect up. So, because I believe on the actual inside of the Neutron, that sort of functionality, there's like a ribbon connector on the main PCB board. Let me see if I can get this link for you guys. The only problem I've got, and I was talking to Andrew about this before, is that I actually don't have access to my Mac, which I usually use during the stream, and I show websites and stuff like that on there because it's completely died on me. But that's okay. We will persevere. Now let me just grab this link, and you guys can go check it out. And I think this is the easiest way. Then you can go check it out and click on it. And there's photographs of how you connect it up and everything like that. Now, one thing I couldn't work out is how much this thing costs. So someone in the chat could probably go click through and paste it into the chat room of the thing. But what it does do is it brings...
It's quite cheap, actually.
An independent power supply. Oh, here we go, 35 euros. Here we go, I found it, 35 euros.
I was going to say, it wasn't an awful lot. I had a quick look on their site, and I thought, is it only 35? You do have to build it yourself, though.
Oh yeah, it's a kit. Yeah, I didn't mention that. It is. But it's very simple. It's only a few sort of screwing and it's not too bad. Right. Anyway, we shall move on because it's not like a massive sort of newsy thing anyway. What else? The last thing I've got is this one. That is from Erica Synths, and I don't normally show. Well, actually, I don't normally show Euro cases. I showed one last week from ALM. But anyway, the reason why I'm showing this one is because I actually thought it was interesting. This is actually a carbon fiber travel case. I don't think I've ever seen a carbon fiber Eurorack case before, and maybe this might be the first. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the whole benefit with this is it's actually really light. It only weighs 3.2 kilos, and the thing actually houses two 104 HP. It's like a 6U 104 HP. That is massive. So
and that's a hell of a lot of power as well in that little case.
Yeah, it's got the power rails, and it does have a external power supply that goes with it. I don't really know much more details other than it's 660 euros. There's literally three options for it. You can have a UK plug, a USA plug, or an EU plug. They're your three options. But yeah, I think that the most important thing to realize here is people are actually saying, can you guys make Eurorack cases lighter? And Erica Synths have come up with this. Anyone want to make a quick comment about this one?
Is that really 64 power outlets in that little case? That's a hell of a lot.
60,
looks awesome.
I think it's 60. Yeah. I think they say 60 on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awful lot. I mean, just looking at my case, I have 30, and it's the sort of kind of an equal size. So 104p 7U from IntelliGel, right? And I have only like 30 power outlets in mine. That's more than double. And I mean, you have to run like 2 HP 1U, these really, really small 2 HP ones, in order to effectively utilize all of those, right?
Look, if you want to get technical, Berg, I can tell you that they're giving you 2.5 amp on your plus 12 volt rail. They're giving you 2.5 amps on your negative 12 volt rail, and they're also giving you 1 amp on your 5 volt rail, which is pretty decent. It's not quite as much, I don't think, as the Arturia Rack Brute, though. I think they're 3 amps. So it's look, I would say it may be a little bit underpowered. That would probably be my warning. So if you definitely need to use something like Modular Grid to plan out your modules and obviously check your power usage before you go into something like this. But yeah, hey, if you can squeeze 60 modules in there, go for it. It might be,
exactly.
Yeah. Let's see what anyone in
the allowing for a lot of their Pico modules to be shoved in there. If you've got a whole bundle,
of course,
a whole bundle, it'll take up not a lot of room, but will need a lot of inputs. So immediately I saw all of those power outlets. That was the first thought that popped into my head. Lots of Picos in there. So yeah, it looks a lovely thing, doesn't it? Blimey, it does.
They can be a little bit power hungry too. Some of those Pico modules. I mean, I've got the drums and the drum too, and they're pretty, because they're quite a bit of processing in those. They can be a little bit power hungry. So just because they're small, 3U or 3 HP, sorry. So let me just pop up this. We've got a couple of comments that have come in. Just make sure I'm not.
Was there a price on that, Rans? Actually, just out of interest.
€660. I mentioned it just before. That's okay.
Did you? Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
€660.
That's right. So X101 said for that price, I'd rather just get an IntelliJ case. Yeah, fair enough. Good point.
Something to be said for that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's sometimes price is the motivation for us, and sometimes function is the motivation for us. So that's no worries at all. We all are entitled to our opinions. Look, I'm building a Eurorack case, well, not case, set up at the moment, and it's not cheap to build. And even if I'm sourcing parts from quality parts, but I'm sourcing them and I'm price hunting, so I'm making sure that I'm not trying to, just taking anything from anyone. I'm actually, searching for the best price, the best supplier. And even with that, it's still going to be quite an expensive thing. So let me just make that clear. If anyone ever is embarking in building a Eurorack case, and we're not talking about making something out of cardboard here, we're talking about, this is a carbon fiber case. It's got some definitely quality engineering in it. It is not cheap to build Eurorack cases. That's just the nature of the beast. Like when
all of the power, the headers and cabling and stuff, that all adds up, right? So they're expensive for a reason. And just looking at those like furniture type of builds as well, and adding craftsmanship on top of that, makes them even more expensive, like the Lamont Ross stuff that they used to do back in the day, right? So from my perspective, I'd rather not go DIY, do it yourself, because I have my thumb in the middle of my hand and I don't really have any space yet to do any, carpentry. But definitely, going forward, when I build my new studio, I'll try to do something. But I probably won't start with a modular system. I'll do something simpler like a workbench or something like that.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, I mean, look, I've mentioned this before, but I will take you guys through the journey that I'll be going through. I'm not quite ready yet to start the vlogging of all of this, but let me just get all my gear in. I'm still waiting on the rail stuff to come in, and once I've got all the parts together, I'll take you guys through, and there'll even be some sort of design choice part of it as well. It's going to be boring to some people, but it's going to be really interesting to others. I know there's a few people that follow me on my channel that are going to want to do this themselves. So yeah, look, it's Eurorack cases are a personal thing. I think that how we become creative really comes down to how we use our space at times. And if we find that we're not sort of gelling, like I'm not gelling really that well with my setup here, so the problem I've got is I've got 3 Eurorack cases and I'm probably happy with these 2 here, but I'd like the Behringer one to be on top. I just need to consolidate. So this is the sort of motivation, and we need to all sort of think about that. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay. I think that's it for the news. Yes, it is. We are going to do Price Watch. There's no scams this week though, which is a shame. I do like scams, but no scams this week, sorry. This is more just kind of interesting things that pop up that I see. I don't know, maybe you might think this is a scam. This is a hell of a lot of money. This is like £20,000 for a... Pronounce that for me, Andy?
Strymon, but he passed away recently.
Yeah, I know. This is why it's fetching. But the S1 Mark II, it's a mono synth. I mean, £20,000 for a mono synth. You got to be scratching yourself and asking, is it just like could I just get a Behringer? I don't know. Anyway, look, this is actually a pretty amazing sort of thing. So it does fetch the price, but look, I just thought I'd bring this up because I thought it was of interest. I don't know what it says up the top. Oleg's something outlet. I don't know what that means.
It's probably a note that they wrote just to make sure that it's authentic, because I don't think they made too many of those back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
From Milan.
Right. Yeah. From Milan. Yeah. Okay. That's his. Yes. So there's his business name where you can see on the bottom right hand corner, Oleg's Gear Outlet. But there's a note up there that says the same thing. Okay. Got it. I actually didn't notice that before. I should pay attention more to my my graphics that I show on the show. Anyway, doesn't matter. What else we got? We have got. I thought this one was interesting. So this is the Roland System 100M. Now, the only reason why I'm showing this is because I kind of want to, I don't know, make a point, I guess. If you were to buy a Roland System 100M, you're looking at £3,500 to £4,000, maybe more, maybe less, but it's going to be around that sort of coin, right? And even with this one, this is actually a fairly basic one. There's quite a lot of modules that they list in here, but it's not all of them. And then you've got the opportunity, I'm going to go straight to the next one because it's related. Then you've got the opportunity to buy individual modules for the Roland System 100M. And just have a look at that. Like, wow, it's £900 just for one module.
Hey.
All right? That is insane. And that's a dual VCA. And I saw dual VCOs, I saw the envelope generator as well. These are all now. What do you think I'm going to say next?
They're 90 quid from Booley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could even say a little bit more from Maleko / Roland.
Well, yeah, you got the Roland 500 modules. Yep. Yeah. They're not quite the same though.
Just silly,
They're not
really.
quite the same.
Well, you've got to ask yourself a question, though, haven't you? Really, whether you are absolutely desperate to own a System 100M. And there was a time in my life when I would have snatched your hand off, but they've always been expensive. They've never really sort of like
Always
the bottom
been, yeah.
never really fell out of that particular market.
Yeah.
So the fact that Behringer have come along and have got all these modules that you can buy, like Berg's just said, for 90 quid or less even. I mean, some of them cost 40 quid. I mean, okay, they're the boring ones that just the mults and stuff, but it's brilliant. And they are nice and they sound great. Are they going to be exactly the same as 100M? Probably not, but you pay your money, takes your choice. Why should anybody slag me off for buying Behringer?
I think they're going to be pretty close. You know,
they're not complicated things inside, are they, really?
You're getting really splitting hairs type scenarios when you're saying, oh, it's not the same, it's not the same. Look, if you're going to make one of these tracks with a System 100M, whether it's a Behringer one or a Roland one or a Roland System 500 one, in a mix, if you could pick it, in the mix and go, oh, he's used a Behringer, I can tell because the oscillator fluctuated at this frequency and my propeller and my hat's spinning and I know everything about this sort of stuff. Go for it if that's what, you know. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, look, if I was in a position where I could afford a System 100M, I would definitely have one. Definitely.
Same here. Yeah, without blinking, blinking for sure.
So yeah. I'm not bagging those people, but you know, I just think there's sensibility with your money here too.
So for me, it's not so much, you know. So I mean, for me, it's not so much about being able to tell whether it's the original or not when you put it on a track. For me, it's more about, having the actual unit and knowing the legacy of the unit and giving me inspiration while I'm making the music, right? You could probably argue whether or not the extra add-on on top is actually worth the money, right? But for me, so many of the records that I listened to back in the day with Front 242, Human League, and the What's Nots, right? They all had the System 100 M's, and you can hear them going on there. And I actually had a friend back in the day who had one of those smaller systems that I lent for a little while, right? And there's something special about that, having that original, vintage stuff in your studio. Now, does it warrant, sonically? Absolutely not. But looking at from the legacy and, owning vintage equipment that, has a history, maybe that adds up a little bit on top. But, it's still silly money, right? So, yeah. Probably would never buy one.
It's not quite as silly as the money that we were talking about with that, what was it called again? The Strymon S1 Mark II, that sort of stuff.
Strymon.
Yeah. So, but anyway, look, I mean, these little snippets that I find to share with you guys during the week, they're just conversation starters. So sometimes I find scams, sometimes I find interesting price gear, and I just really kind of, I can't really talk about this with my wife, can I? I can talk about it with you guys because it's kind of what we like. So that, if you're wondering, that's where the passion's from. Right. Okay. Let's get stuck into the main show. So, what did we set up first? Let me just clear this chat queue so we've got a nice clear chat queue. We had a few questions, didn't we? So let's play this little scroller down the bottom. It says, like writer's block. There's one of the questions. So popular questions, what do you do with writer's block? Another question is, when to finish your mix? When are you done with that mix? Like, seriously, have you spent 6 weeks on a mix? When is it time to finish your mix? And the next one is when to let go of a track. Yep, I'm just not going to ever get this track finished. I think it's time to move on. When is a good time to know that you should be letting go of it? And the other one is whether you should learn music theory. Oh, wasn't that a good one? Stolen Toast in the Discord group came up with that one. So let's look at those questions. We can answer them all separately in different segments. But I think, Berg, you're in a situation right now, and I'll cross to you.
Yeah.
Where I would classify you as a man in the know, and you produce really good quality music. But here you are, and this is not a criticism with you at all. This is just a fact. Here you are. You're stuck at the moment. You've got writer's block.
I am stuck. And for me, this is a lot of the reasons why it is what it is today. It's because of daytime work, obviously adding a lot of stuff and pressure, and because of that, I'm the type of being that when I'm away from my gear for a longer period of time, it becomes harder to pick things up. So I don't have like a airtight solution for getting out of the writer's block but for me it's just spending time in the studio, being around the gear and trying to fiddle around just to find something that really kicks my creative juices going and gets me back on the road again, right? And that is something that either takes a couple of hours or it could take like a couple of months. So the longer I stay away from the gear and the longer I attempt to make music, the harder that transition becomes, right? So I don't have a solution that works for me, obviously, perfectly each and every time, but that's at least something that I try to do. It's like, it's like if you want to do exercise, right? The harder you stay, the longer you stay away from exercising and running, the harder it will become to pick it up again, right? Because you kind of put yourself in a mental state. Well, you start to doubt yourself. Do I really make good music? Does this really feel good? It's all about making stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be good. It could be just crap. You could just throw it away. But being in the studio and rehearsing and learning the gear and interacting with the stuff is really what, helps me at least get back on track again. So that's not a solution for everybody. I know it's really hard sometimes. And I think I second guessed myself as well. Being in the studio around all this stuff, I had like synths all over the place, right? Why the hell am I not using everything, right? But it's really a hobby for me. I'm not a professional. So I have the luxury of being able to put that aside with the kits that it has, right? So it's harder for me to get back up and running when I really need to go and, start making music. So it's not really a solution to the writer's block, I think, but at least some of these things helps me to get going again. Just being like today, right? We're chatting about synths, looking at the other guys' setups and everything, the stuff that Dean has on his wall with the synths and everything. That's really inspiring, right? And that helps me, start thinking in creative patterns, right? So, it's kind of a mix of multiple things, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Look, while you were talking, a few people jumped into the chat room and they were actually coming up with a couple of solutions, which I thought was really nice of them. Like Howard said, when I get frustrated with my music or lack of inspiration, I whip out a music book and I play someone else's music. Native VS says, writer's block, buy some gear. I've heard that one a million times before. It doesn't always work, mate. But it is definitely one thing you could try. And I think there was one more. There we go, from Paul. He said, experiment instead of writing. So that's another one. Just muck around, I guess, and maybe that might lead to writing. So there's some good solutions there. I think the chatties are onto it, mate, and they've got your back there, Berg. So look, I probably
thanks, guys.
I probably want to I don't want to be too much talking about me because you guys get sick of hearing me. I want these guys here and you guys in the chat to offer your opinions in the show. So, Darren, I want to go to you, mate, because I know you don't think that highly of yourself, but I do. I think highly of you, and I think the fact that you bring a track out every week, and that track has really, really good caliber to it, you must come across being struck with writer's block at times. Tell us what your sort of process of getting through that is.
I think everyone will come across writer's block, no matter who you are. It'll happen. It can happen. You can be writer's block for months. Nothing you just cannot come up with ideas. I'm a little bit like Berg, although I would say always take a break from your studio. Not necessarily for a long, long time, but yeah, sometimes you can get locked into your studio trying to come up with something, and no matter how much you just mess about, jam, things just don't seem to want to work, and you start to get really, you start to feel really down about it. So I would say at least take some time out of the studio. But on the other hand, as Berg said, don't get too far out of the studio that it becomes, do I really want to go back in there? Just a small break, I say. Also, another thing, I always find having many projects on the go can be quite helpful, because you can guarantee that the one that you want to work on, you'll get stuck on and you'll just not be able to finish it. Whereas if you've got, like me at the moment, I've got about 10. I don't say get 10 projects on the go, but if you've got a few projects, you can always switch between them. And sometimes doing another project that might not go anywhere gives you a great idea for the one that you're stuck on in the first place. So that's always a great way to work. I know it's hard because I do this, but don't sort of press yourself into trying to finish a track that you think is good, but you can't finish it. Don't try and pressure it. It'll come on its own. It might not even be finished for another 6 months, but don't give up on it. Just put it to one side. Don't sit there in the studio for day after day because you've almost finished it and trying to work a way around the track that's just not coming. So I always say, put it to one side, start as many projects as you want, different styles as well. I think that's the other thing. Don't always go for a style that if you're constantly making techno and then you're struggling, just go and do something completely different that you'd never do. Just put a few samples up if you're going to do it that way. Just mess about on a completely different genre, whether it be ambient or anything that's completely out of your comfort zone. Maybe just mess about, not wanting to create anything. You'll be surprised what will come from it. It might help you in the track that you're working on, or you might even start liking a different genre and come up and find it more inspirational. So that's another thing that I like to do. That's probably why I can't say which is going to come out each week, probably.
Fair enough. So one of the things I want to sort of bring up is, while you were talking, Darren, I think it's inspiring people to make some comments. So, for example,
Good comments there.
ASIO Head said, play some guitar. This one from Howard, I was kind of about to say the same thing. Writer's block, redo your setup, move your equipment around. I have a bunch of keyboards and moving them into different position changes. And just on that one, I kind of feel like you guys kind of probably know the way I work. I don't have all my gear out permanently connected, and I do that because in the last 10, 20 years that I've been mucking around with music and writing music, I often come across writer's block. And one of the tricks that I get around is I just rip some gear out, put it away, let it collect dust for a bit if it's not inspiring you, and put something else in its place. And I just kind of swap gear around. Doesn't necessarily have to be new gear, because sometimes we can't afford new gear. But if you kind of, like what Howard was saying, if you kind of sort of swap some stuff around, that was always a good one. And let me just get the other one that came up, which was from Inverted Popes. And that was, it happens to him occasionally, so he just goes back to the basics and plays the piano. Soon, tunes and inspiration hits.
Very much so.
Great point there from IP. Man with many, many knowledges. Bad English.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Now,
That's if you play the piano.
I think I would like to get Dean's opinion on this, because we actually haven't heard much from Dean. I know he writes. So, Dean, what have you got to say about the writer's block side?
Oh yeah, hope you can hear me okay here. Personally myself, I love what was just said on the piano. I mean, what I do, with the room I had before, it was really overwhelming. Just all the equipment, so much distraction. And when it comes, I would do the same. Now I've got my front room, which is a place to relax, and I just got my guitar in there. That's all I have, and my clavinova. And then if I feel like it, and majorly for me, it's getting in a relaxed place, like going for a run. I go to walk down to the beach, get into nature. That really helps me, just to get away, switch off, and suddenly when that clear head and the mind's not racing, no thoughts, I kind of then suddenly I think that's a space, or when little ideas come, and then the excitement comes back, and then I can't wait to have that motivation. I can't wait to get back and try the idea or whatever it is,
Okay.
That's for me.
Yeah, it's a good one. So like different sort of environments. There you go. That's an interesting one. Berg, I'm sure you know all this anyway, but I'm taking notes right now. Like I think some of these are great ideas. We know Dean's mic is low, guys. So I've pumped it up to plus 12 dB at my end. So if I pump it up anymore, all you're going to hear is a hiss. We've got a few issues with his mic, so just please persevere with it. That's the best we can do. I don't want to add auto gain to it, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard auto gain. All it does is kind of go like that. It is just a horrible algorithm. Anyway, we won't go into there. Axelsoft's made a nice little comment. I just want to grab that one before we go on to the next topic. Here we go. Let's add this one in. Let's wait for this one to disappear. Sorry, it won't take long. It just takes a couple of seconds for this to refresh. Let's give it some love. Here we go. I just take my headphones off. As soon as I hear the nagging, I very quickly get motivated to get over any... I had to show that. Ah, what a champion. There we go. Right, okay. I can hear someone's got their headphones on too loud or something, I'm not sure. Actually, that might be Dean. Let me just pop Dean back down again. It's not your fault, Dean. Don't worry, it's just my end. I've just pumped you up. Yeah, there we go. I can hear me through your headphones. All right, cool. Next time Dean speaks, I have to pump him back up again. Right, the next question was here we go. When is a good time to finish your mix? So it's kind of like writer's block, but you're mucking around with this mix, and you keep making changes to the EQ, you keep making changes to, anything, like you might add an effects, taking reverb off, changing that, and like all you're doing is you just keep tweaking, but where is the end? When is a good time to say, yep, this is about as best as I'm going to get it? Let's hear some opinions here. So who wants to go with that one first? Anyone, put your hand up and you can have a chat about that. When is a good time to finish your mix? What do you want to go to the chat?
I can give it a go if you guys want to. So, for me, this is a pretty long and extensive topic, really. But if I want to condense it a little bit, it's making music is really about learning to let go, right? So it's like raising a child. At some time, you really need to be, content with what you've done so far, because if you start micromanaging and changing things and mixing around too much, in the end, you will never be finished, right? So this is why I like the 2-track channel approach, i.e. I record like live sessions. So I can't really go back and change the mix because I have to do the mix in advance before I'm recording. So that helps me to put that pressure away and also make sure that once I've recorded the 2-track session, that's all there is, right? And if I want to go a couple of, steps even further, I can also do like multi-track recordings of the same track and re-record everything. So I sort of kind of get to the same type of feeling that I had on the 2-track level version, right? And if I'm using that as a template, it also helps me just to put that song away and just, go further on to the next one. Because I think that we spend a little bit too much time on mixing today. There's too much, fiddling with EQs here and there and, changing levels and everything. Because I think that once you get to a point where you start micromanaging things, it's like Darren said, right? You have multiple projects. Just put that track aside and maybe pick it up later rather than try and, force it to become a completed product. But, all in all, getting to a point where you're happy with the song really comes at an earlier stage of time. You really need to put the stick in the ground and say, hey, this track is done, right? And having, obviously friends available who can listen to your stuff and knows your stuff, reference listen, you compare the other tracks that are out there, and you build the track from the ground as well. Because if you have your mental correct, you have your kick and your bass and everything, on the adding all on top really becomes much easier. Focus on the fundamental, make it sound good, and also don't overdo it. Don't work too long on one project because it will not be better. It will just sound different, right? So nobody has heard this before. You're the one who sets the standard of what this track sounds like, right? So it might be a little bit, arty-farty and out there, but that's the way that I try to approach my mixing.
That's really, really good. We just had you breaking up a little tiny bit there with your internet connection, and I know it wasn't this end because the other guys were nice and solid. So, but I think we got most of that through without too much drama. Now, while you were talking, I just thought most people are saying well said, everything like that. Mark said, set everything before hitting record, and make space for each instrument. Record in one pass. I think like that's a great plan, but sometimes I don't ever get to that point. I think what we may not be able to actually get everything set perfectly, and that's kind of one of the reasons why some of us multi-track record. So like Berg's talking about, he's probably similar to Mark. He wants to get everything set so that way he's doing a 2-track record and it's all good to go. Some of us may not get to that. I'm not saying me personally, but there's other people who like to multi-track record and then they like to kind of fix things up in the DAW or whatever like that. So I think this topic can sort of blow out to be like a really, really big topic, but I think a lot of people have kind of got a similar sort of train of thought, don't they? So who else wants to give some advice about when is a good time to finish your mix? What about you, Dean? Have you got some? I know you've got a couple of mixes there, and you kind of got your gear. What would you suggest? I'm just going to pump you up now because you were kind of quiet before. So here we go. Here we go.
Well, I've had a little shift around. I hope that's a little bit better your end now. Can you hear that?
Yep.
Is that better?
It is.
Right, Brill. Yeah, I think I like the approach, like Bird said. Is start with a kind of basic limitation, and to kind of have them kind of dynamics within the first track, and guitar, vocal, just limited amount of tracks, and then I did like the kind of not to micromanage, because that's definitely one of my defects. I would definitely sit there every little tiny intricacy, and it could go on forever. And I think it's the same thing. Standing back, I love the idea of doing a mix, and then next day just leave it, just and listen to it with fresh ears on another system, kind of thing. Just to kind of get my idea of where I've gone with the track, and then kind of go, and realise when I'm going too far with it. Definitely put that stake in the ground and go, that's it, that'd do.
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. All right. Okay, so are you guys, anyone else want to sort of offer some opinions about this one, Andy or Darren?
Yeah, I can.
Darren?
Andy, if you want to say.
We'll go to you.
Go on, Darren.
Yeah,
we'll go to Andy next.
Yes, definitely. Usually, you'll probably find that your best mix is one of the earliest ones that you do. So, as has been said before, don't micromanage whatever you do, because it's usually probably one of the, like I say, one of the first few mixes that you do is probably going to be the best. I'll tell you a story. I've got a track called Data Stream, which I've never released. I may do it. And it was on an older platform. I think it was on Ableton 8. And I wanted the bass to work. And it sounded okay. But when I listened to it in different, like in the car and places like that, it just didn't quite work. And I couldn't work out what it was. And I spent hours and it might have been days as well trying to get this right. And by the time I finished, I switched over to Ableton 9 with the same project, still trying to work it. It still wasn't working. And I ended up giving up. And it turned out that the first mix or the first rundown that I'd done was the best. But because I'd spent so long changing EQs, putting different things on the bass, changing the bass even, all sorts, I'd literally moved so far out of where it was good, I could never get it back there. And I never released it. I just left it as a track that I could never finish and never do. And when I went back to it a few months ago, just looking at it, it was the first or second mix that I did, which was actually really, really good, and it worked. And because I'd moved so far out of the window of where it was good, because I was trying to micromanage this one small, what I thought was a problem, and it turned out that it wasn't in the end. So that's what I would say. Don't spend years on a mix, because it'll probably be one of the first few that you've done that is the best mix.
Wow, that's very deep.
I might release it, actually.
Yeah, do it. I say do it.
Now we want to hear the track. I want to hear the track now.
We do, don't we? Yeah, you're right, Ollie.
Absolutely, I definitely want to hear it. All right, now Andy, I know you said he said already, but let's add your spin to it.
No, actually, the thing is, I think what Darren said there is really very, very true. I think we've all probably been guilty of it. I mean, I try not to get too deep into the nuances of mixing, because I think it's a black art, and there are so many skills that we have to learn and master, and that's what I just think. If it sounds good in this room, it'll sound all right, and that's always been my attitude to it. And sometimes I'm quite surprised how good some of them sound when I listen to them somewhere other than in here. They often sometimes sound better, because I'm in a cube. Literally, this is a cube. It's the worst acoustic space on the planet, but still, I do my best, and it sounds better elsewhere. But I think on the last topic and on this one, I think there's something really important that needs to be said. We are often our own worst critics. That we hear things and we want it to sound like X or Y or Z, and when it doesn't, we get cross and irritated and infuriated. And I think a really important thing is let somebody else hear it. Let somebody else hear it, because a fresh pair of ears, a pair of ears which isn't yours, is actually a very good one. They're coming to it from a totally different angle. In this world of electronic music, what is right and what is wrong, it's very, very difficult to say that. I mean, there have been albums that have been released which have been, like I said, I mean, a good example of this is Aphex Twin, Selected Ambient Works, Volume 1. It's all recorded onto cassette and then set out as a CD. It's not been mixed ad nauseam with every single detail and nuance tweaked. Sure, it'll be mastered, but it's been just put out there, and because the quality that the music itself is good enough. Who cares if the bass is a bit boomy or the top end's a bit hissy? People don't think in those terms. They really don't. and we are often very much our own self-critics. I mean, I'd like to raise the point of a classical composer, a guy called Paul Dukas, who probably a lot of people have never heard of, but they'll know The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the piece of music that's on the Fantasia film. Now, Paul Dukas was massively self-critical. He was the chair of composition at the Paris Conservatoire, so he was a really well-respected bloke, but he hardly ever released any music to the public. In fact, The Sorcerer's Apprentice and one or two other pieces are about all we've got left, because before he died, when he knew he was dying, he burnt the lot. He stuck it on a fire and burnt it. So it all went literally up in smoke. So yet what could it have been like? I mean, it could have been just wonderful music that's now lost to us because he himself was so critical of his own work. And I think that's why it's really quite important to let somebody else hear it. Émile Saint-Saëns, another great classical composer, he hated the piece of music which is now his most famous work, The Carnival of the Animals. He hated it. He just thought it was a little silly little ditty that he scribbled down for a few friends to play. Well, now it's his most famous piece of music. Mm. We aren't necessarily our own best judges.
Yeah. It's a good one. Very good points there too. And I think a lot of people in the chat room were expressing their agreement with you, Andy.
I've not read the chat yet, so if you were, thank you, folks.
So QR Dunk says, after knobbing on a new project, I record it 3 times and pick up the best. Sometimes this is an option for me to make a decision easier.
That's a good idea too.
And then Inverted Pope said, the moment I asked the question, when to finish, that is the time to finish. So there we go, some wise moods from my IP today, from brilliant stuff.
That's
brilliant. Good. Yes. Okay, so I think this has been good. These questions have been great, and we've got more. So this is what happens during the week. We keep getting asked questions. Do a show on this. Do a show on this. Well, sometimes you can't do a whole show on some of these things. Sometimes you could do a whole show on this, and it might probably be a bit dry. So if we just if we had a little chat about these things, it's good. Now the next question was, should I learn music theory? So this one came up during Discord chats during the week, and Mark's in the chat room right now. He knows who I'm talking about, who actually raised this question. And we had a little bit of a discussion about it, whether we thought whether you needed to know any music theory, whether you need to know a little bit, how much was that little bit, whether you need to go completely into going to university. I think Lisa's in the chat room, and she's actually gone all the way through and got herself a postgraduate qualification as a result. So do we need to learn music theory? That's the question. Who wants to have a crack at answering that one? What do we need to learn it for might be another question. But yeah, who wants to go first? Andy, right. Here we go.
Well, given what I've just been talking about, you probably realise that I have quite a background in classical music. And my problem that I have, because I learned the piano, I learned music theory up to quite a high level, that I sometimes feel very shackled by it, and I have to try and take steps back. Like as soon as I turn to the keyboard, my hands will go to particular shapes and I'll make particular chords, and I find myself finding it very difficult to get away sometimes from those almost pre-programmed in me chord progressions. That this is the way you go from here to here, and then you got that, and this inversion, and sometimes it's very hard to break those rules, which is one of the reasons why I actually turn it over around to this side, where I've got the little modular setup, where I've no idea what's going to happen when I press this button and turn that dial, and that I love that because it takes me off into realms that I would never ever have been able to dream up myself. It's its own little world and system, and I love it. And sometimes trying to overcome my own sort of cliches is quite difficult. So I've got to try to sometimes take a step back from the classical music training. On the other hand, I'm sure that if you're coming into this having a basic understanding of what chord structures work from one to another, or what notes belong in a particular scale, you know, what the difference is between Dorian mode and Mixolydian mode, for example, are actually quite useful bits of knowledge and could be useful shortcuts to people. But I think you've just got to find your own path with it, really. There, anyway. Not all advantages and disadvantages on both sides.
Yeah, but I think the question
is right or wrong.
Yeah, I think the question is kind of, I mean, learning music theory might be what you might need to do, but to what end and for what purpose? That might be probably the better question. So, Darren, what do you think? You know,
I know I can't play piano or anything like that. I can hit a key with one finger. Well, maybe two actually. I can do a chord now. But I think to make
you're getting somewhere, Darren.
To make music, I know. I've just got to actually manage to play it with both hands in time. I
just want to show that we're all cracking up laughing here, so I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, I just love it. One finger I can do. I mean, we're all with you. Continue, Darren.
Thing is, I started playing an awful lot more with just one finger for that very reason, though, Darren. because in order to deliberately limit, I actually go. Do it like this because it stops me playing too many notes all at once.
Back to Darren. Come here. He's trying to squeeze a point out here.
Yeah.
Right. If you're coming to music, I don't think you need to know about music to write music, but it will come in handy if you do have some knowledge of music, if that makes sense. I wouldn't sort of go out and say I need to spend hours practicing playing piano and things like that, because that would not be the way I work. But to have a bit of knowledge comes in handy, because sometimes I'm racking my brain because I'm thinking, how can I alter this chord progression into how I want it? And because I don't know a lot of theory of music, it becomes really, really hard. But on the other hand, because I don't know that, I will just go what sounds good, and I'm not bothered whether it's in the right key or not. I mean, I did a remix ages ago, and it was only afterwards I looked, and there was one note that wasn't in that key, and it sounded good, but I didn't know. I was just like, this sounds great to me, so that's that's how I want it to sound. I'm not worried whether it's in G minor or whatever, as long as it sounds good. So I think it's a 50-50. You don't have to have any musical knowledge to write good music, but it will help, and vice versa. If you do have a lot of musical knowledge, it can be a hindrance. A bit like Andrew said, it's a 50-50. It's a double-edged sword. You can not like music.
Rules can be broken.
Yeah.
Well, the
rules
broken
can
for
be
me.
broken.
I don't know the rules I'm breaking.
Well, people like sorry, going about classical composers, Beethoven. A lot of the people at the time when Beethoven was writing were very critical of Beethoven because he wasn't following the prescribed patterns at all. And you listen to some of his pieces of music and the actual chord progression, the key changes, and some of them really make you feel a bit uncomfortable because they're not quite where you're expecting them to go. But ultimately, that's what makes them brilliant and works of genius, in my view. So break the rules. That's a good thing to do. Even if you don't know what the rules are. Like you said, if it sounds good, then it's good.
Yeah. Well, let's hear what some of the chatties have said, because I think there's been some good comments that have come up, and what we'll do is we'll hit this magic button here. Native VS says, knowing a bit of counterpoint and scales is very helpful. There you go. Some words of wisdom from Native VS. Just wait for this to keep going. I think there's more. Just waiting for it to scroll. Here we go. Inky said that I learned music theory for a few years as a degree level, but after years of playing by ear, it didn't make any difference and forgot it all in weeks. There you go. So bit of learning and practice might be better than actually theory. Howard's got some great words of wisdom here today. Music theory is not necessary. Hell, it's theory. It's not practice. but learning theory can definitely help with your endeavors. So yeah, it's a bit of contradiction in what you said there, Howard, but I do get what you're saying. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Right, okay. Some really, really good points. Now, I'm not deliberately missing your comment if you've said the best comment ever, and why hasn't Rand's... Where am I?
Well,
Darren.
Dean had his hand up a
Why
minute
hasn't
ago,
Rand
actually,
said
Rand,
my
so-
comment? He's not saying my comment. My comment's better than everyone else's comment. Well, you know what you need to do? You need to get rid of that square in the top right-hand corner. That's what you need to do first. The second thing you need to do is you need to throw your synth at the screen in disgust, because we can't have that. Anyway, oh, geez, I've worn that joke out, haven't I? All right, so let me kind of offer my point of view, because I've been pretty quiet with some of these topics, and I just kind of think, I want to have a little sort of point of view with this. I think music theory can be really, really important, but it also can be absolutely not any use whatsoever. It depends on the situation. It also depends on the type of person you are. And I mean, we've got people who really like to sort of know their stuff. We've also got musicians who have made brilliant music over the years and they wouldn't have an ounce of music theory. They wouldn't even know how to read notation. So really, I think it comes down to us as individuals. I think it's a personal question. And if you're kind of looking for that answer, then maybe look to your mentors. And if your mentors are people that you gravitate towards as musicians, and you think, well, these are my mentors, and I'm finding out these guys really don't give a toss about music theory, then maybe I shouldn't as well. I don't know. But this is kind of, I feel it's kind of, don't you guys agree? It's kind of a personal thing, isn't it, music theory? I think if we need it, we don't, who cares? No one's going to punish you, are they? What about you, Berg? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have probably as much, rants about this as Andy has, right? Because I kind of resonate really well with what you said before about knowing music theory in the field. No, you weren't ranting, but you had some really good points, right? And I kind of gravitate towards the same thing myself, right? Because I've never ever learned music theory, and I think that having the knowledge might have not put me into the places that I am today, right? I've always played by ear, and this is, normally what I do. And rather than saying, studying standard or traditional musical theory, maybe some things that we're already doing today is that we're studying electronic music theory, right? Let's say, for example, you're making techno music. There's some bits and bobs in there that you need to understand to make it work with rhythms and everything, the counterparts, how the kick drum, plays together with the bass sound and everything. And that in essence is, music theory that you're creating in a new field of music, right? I mean, we're still talking about notation, we're talking about rhythms, we're talking about 16s and 32 steps and 8s and and syncopation and all of those things. That's all in there, but there's some additional treats to the actual part of the electronic theory that really you can't directly connect to traditional theory, right? So, from my perspective, what I'm doing in a day-to-day situation when I'm making music, I don't look at the traditional music theory. I try to think a little bit about my bits and bobs, my instrument, how they work and interact together, and use that as my main part of making the tracks that I do today, right? So I don't know if that makes any sense, or am I just ranting or rambling around, but I think that for myself personally, today, being almost 50 years old, I wouldn't gain anything from knowing musical theory at all. But really, if I was maybe 30 years ago and I had a different path in my life going towards a pianist or a soloist or maybe a drummer, musical theory sometimes is a good way of understanding the field of music that you're going into, right? So I would love to maybe be able to read notes, to understand how to, play musical piano pieces and whatnots by reading musical notation. But today I just listen to it and replicate it, by ear. It's not perfect. So I think that I might be sort of adapting and adding my own personal, color on the music, if you will, by not understanding the theory, by just trying to listen to the music and to the moods. Might be a little bit long ramble and rant there, but I hope it makes sense.
No, that's perfectly fine. Now, Dean had his hand up, and let me just get the mic ready to go. Yeah, go for it, buddy. Oh, muted. Muted. Whoop. Whoop. Muted. Have a drink.
Sorry, there we go.
There we go.
You hear me now?
We can, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's just interesting because I grew up with my brother who was like classical, and it was really, really interesting because he was in the age, he was kind of glam rock years and stuff, but he grew up like, you know, at school doing all the classical stuff. So he had the kind of middle thing going on with it. But I was just a total computer. I got a computer. I asked him to teach me, which he wouldn't, except for lock the piano because I used to hit it too hard. That was my idea of playing. And it's quite funny how to have these differences of me just doing a computer and programming. And that was my first entry. And then I basically went into suddenly learning a bit more. I learned to, you know, find some sensitivity and stuff with it and understand that from a young age with my brother. And then it came useful. And what I've always found interesting is by my approach, by doing it by ear, I find it's much more open to creativity, which it goes back to, you know, Andy was saying, it's having that kind of, you know, programming of knowing where to go with chords and stuff. And I know a fair little bit now, but it's that natural, you kind of same formation, A minor to F or something. You just kind of jump to the thing, and that having that kind of what's the word? Just train pathways really. And I've noticed my partner, she's a classical player, and she's really not quite creative. She hasn't got that creative thing. Like she can't play by ear. I say to her, it's just easy, just play by ear and listen for this. And it's a total different world. It really is a total world. But I do see benefit in having a certain amount of musical knowledge. That's why I went the opposite way around and tried to learn some more. So.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Love it.
I think, someone mentioned something in the chat room, and I think we should probably just grab that. Talking about jazz. Yeah, I've seen this come up a few times. There's a few people. I won't highlight all of your individual comments because I think we'll do Goyas anyway. So I think jazz is kind of this kind of weird sort of people don't really want to talk about it because they're not really sure if they're cool if they talk about it. Let me just remove some of these other old ones that were there. So Goya said,
complicating factor, isn't it?
that's why jazz is so admired. You're driven to understand the composition. Jazz is a musical education. Really, really good point. And I think the other point is that I think Native VS mentioned it before. He goes to jazz as a sort of an inspiration source when we were talking about writer's block before. So there seems to be a little bit of a common theme there, doesn't there? It's interesting. I don't know if it's me. I do listen to jazz. I'm not gonna rubbish jazz. But yeah, some people, that's what they do. That's cool. No right or wrong answers here. So yeah. Does anyone want to add anything to the learning music theory topic? I knew this one would probably be the bigger one out of those. So
I'm just interested in what Dean just said about his partner being a classically trained musician, and you take away the sheet music, and then what do? My granddad was very much the same. My granddad was an extraordinarily capable pianist. He would, a lot of the introduction I have to composers like Rachmaninoff, the great piano composers, was through my grandfather. He would sit and he would play them. But if you took the music away, he couldn't play it. It was like, what? He couldn't just sit down at the keyboard and noodle away and play and improvise. That was beyond him. He could not do that. Put the music in front of him, and suddenly all this beautiful music. And I used to wonder, because I used to love just sitting at the piano and noodling away. So it was a totally different approach. So it is interesting that a lot of people are very highly classically trained and can make these pieces of music sound absolutely wonderful. They're not necessarily, in that sense, creative. They're not trying to create something new. They're adding their interpretation on something that's there.
Yeah, let's get
They're kind of
disappointing.
super advanced human sequencers, right? That's really what you're
Yes.
looking into. And I have a friend as well who's in the engineering field of engineering as I am myself, and he's a brilliant pianist, but he doesn't know how to write songs, right? So that's what he said to me. I'm like a super advanced human, flesh sequencer made out of flesh or something like that. And that's really what becomes the truth, because you can hone your skills. I think, I don't want to belittle, any field of music, right? But this is, kind of his words. I mean, you can hone your skills on learning like archery, like shooting a gun or playing the piano, based on a set of rules, right? What's really made for that field of knowledge or artistry, right? But then you can have like a person who's never seen a piano before, and nobody tells them how it's supposed to work, and they just break all the rules that are, made by a man and making a piece of music that nobody has heard before. And that's the thing that gets lost, I think, when you have, when you're talking about music theory, not experimenting, right? But also at the same time, I think that there's an advantage of knowing the rules, so you know how to better break them. So it's a fine balance, in my opinion. But really, from my perspective, I think that, approaching an instrument or any type of art or craft, whatever that's out there, without actually knowing what to do with the things, it's when magic happens. That's just my, short little ramble about, if you will.
I absolutely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Now, I want to get Dean's reaction to what Andy said before about I just think kind of deeper into what you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely, Andy. It's exactly the same thing. I mean, I try and, for me, it's quite easy to kind of hear chord formation, by ear. If I'm listening to a track and I'll go G, C, G, D, or whatever it is. And funny, even my partner, she can know all this classical music, and I can kind of go off to different versions, and she's just like lost. I'm like, just use the lower A on the C, or whatever. And it's like, just doesn't know if it's not on a dot. And it's the creativity is so true. It's really weird to experience when, if I'm given a bit of sheet music, there's no way I can keep up with that. I'll be lucky to like work out the bass line after, one bar after about 3 minutes, So yeah, creativity and just the sound is just an ear thing, and it's quite interesting how that works, as in not being critical, but with my partner, I'm very, very alert and I pick up on a lot of stuff because I'm training my ear and alertness, and whereas hers is a sight thing, and a technique thing. It's a different skills.
Yeah, good point. Now, guys in the chat and guys who are watching the show right now live, I just want you to do one little favor for me. These people that are here on the video calls, you've just heard them talk, right? They can't hear me, right? They can't hear us, right? It's just you and me. Trust me, they can't hear us. I better mute them. Right, there we go. Just in case they laugh. Can you give them a thumbs up? Because they come on the show and they put their love and their sweat and their tears even sometimes. They bash me up afterwards. Just give them a thumbs up, because it just lets them know that they're cool guys and it's worth it for them. Let's turn their microphones back on because we'll get back to the show. Oh, guys, sorry. How's it going? Hey.
Yeah, I have no idea. So everything just went black on my end.
Yeah.
Darren's showing something here. Look at
Darren.
this.
Ah, you bloody show.
Those tapes? Are those tapes?
Tapes, yeah. Oh dear.
Do they still work, mate?
Zuluk is an amazing album.
You might be on mute, Darren.
Album
You might be on mute, buddy.
Back to.
You muted, buddy. Darren.
Mute.
Yeah, I've got all Jean-Michel Jarre on tape, or at least all his old, his old stuff. Not maybe the recent few album that he did, but most of it's on tape. Yeah.
Guys, I've got a problem. It's terrible.
Another one.
Yeah, I've run out of beer. There's more in the fridge, but there's none here. So I'm going to go get some.
Open
And
Open the topic.
Yeah, you guys can have a chat while I go get some. So who wants to open the topic?
Yeah, I'm going to, because while Darren mentioned Jean-Michel Jarre, I watched again from beginning to end the other day, just because it popped up on my YouTube thing. Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen concert in your front room thing that he did, using all of those bits of vintage gear. And it was absolutely amazing. I'd forgotten just how good it was. So again, another YouTube tip, go back and watch Jean-Michel Jarre doing his Oxygen live in your front room thing. It was stunning. It really was great. And the other thing that I watched this week, which I think everybody should go and dig out, I watched the whole 2 hours of a documentary on Vangelis, and it was amazing. I had no idea about how deep that guy is. You know, I knew I loved his music, but yeah, I enjoyed that. So there's some really good stuff on those guys out there on YouTube land. Go and dig them out if you can. Right, somebody else.
Also,
me now. Go on, Dean. Sorry.
Yeah.
We can look at
Also that was interesting. Not too long. I also that what is it that he got together with Vince Clarke a while back, Jean-Michel Jarre. They did some project which was really, really interesting. I think Jean-Michel Jarre got together with some different artists. I can't remember what it's called, but that's well worth looking into. And I remember actually watching his live show. There's a live show just recently. I just stumbled across it. I didn't really take too much a year, but it's up to date stuff kind of, and that's really, really good.
Did that go black, guys?
Yeah.
Did that whole stream go black just then?
No, I don't think so.
I have no idea. Somebody said.
No, it looked fine.
Yeah, it went black. It went black. I think I might have accidentally put my headphones on the fade to black button here on while I went and got my beer.
No way, man. Did you do that?
Well, they've been spared looking at my ugly mug for a few minutes.
But they could hear me, right? You guys could hear.
Yeah.
So
they could hear you go and getting a beer.
It just,
but all our words of wisdom have been lost for posterity.
So it was black, but
I could see.
But they could hear.
I could hear Andy. I could hear Andy.
I could see it too.
That was brilliant. I've got to be careful when I put my headphones down. Anyway, I actually did listen to all that. And then as soon as I turned around, I'm looking at my screen and I'm like, because I've got the screen right here next to the camera. My screen is black and Dean's talking and I don't know why. And then I'm like, shit.
Well, we could see Dean. Yeah,
I was looking at the...
Yeah, I am not drunk. I promise you, I'm not drunk.
Darren, what had happened to it? What had happened?
It literally faded to black.
It's this button. Watch. I'll do it.
One running the stream.
There you go.
And obviously us. And it literally gone to black.
Whee! Make Darren go black. It's literally just this button here.
Don't do it.
Well, it doesn't happen when we're looking at it through vMix call. So we're looking at it through. I'm looking at it through vMix. So I can't see any of that. I see Darren scratching his chin.
They don't count, Andy. As long as we can see each other, we're fine, right?
It's all right, Rans, because I'm on my second two. Look, I've opened a can in the meantime, so I'm on number 2 as well.
Good man.
I'll have to go and have a lie down.
All set.
See, we're not robots here. We're not like, VST robots. I think Wagoo's leaving or something. Is he leaving? Okay. As in, like going to a different country or something?
No, he's just back. He hasn't been on the chat, or if you mean like physically leaving or moving somewhere, right?
Just like up the road walk.
Oh, wow. We'll have to get Daniel on the show so he can tell us all about it. I've been trying to get him on. Guys, talk to him. Tell him to come on. We won't bite.
Come on, Wagyu. Get yourself on next week, you lazy idle sod. Oh, sorry. Lazy.
Yeah.
Well, come on, Wags. We'd love to have you on here. We really would. We'd love to see you. Come on, mate. Come on, we love you so much. We want you on here. Please.
We have beer.
I've just thought of another.
Wags has got plenty of beer of his own.
I've just thought of another reason where we could use the fade to black button, right? We could guess who's talking. In chat, tell us who's talking right now. I mean, obviously you'd spot the Aussie. And he was like, sounds like an Aussie. Oh dear. Drunken ramblings of the middle-aged man. Yes, exactly. Well, not quite drunk yet. I mean, geez, if I'm drunk after three beers, there's a massive problem with my liver. That's for sure. Anyway, yeah. So let us know.
Mine already.
Let us know in the chat if you enjoyed those questions that we got posed to us during the week. Now they are weird questions, but I think we kind of face them on a regular basis. So let us know if you enjoyed them and if you've got any extra ones that you would like to add, because we're still here and I'll probably stream for another, I don't know, a few more minutes anyway. Let us know if you've got a question you want to ask us, because who knows? It might be a curly one for Darren. Darren likes curly questions. Like, tell us the real reason why you did your back end, mate. Like, that could be the question. Or
the real reason I was making a bracket about that big.
Oh, here we go. Here's the bullshit reason.
Did you drop your pencil?
Come on.
You're not far off there, actually, Andy. You're not far off.
I'll bet it's something as dumb as that.
I was making a bracket. It is. I was making a bracket about that long. So I measured it out, and I dropped the tape measure, and I went down to pick it up at a really awkward angle, and twisted my back, and it was killing me, and I couldn't finish off the bloody bracket.
It's always mundane, isn't it?
To cover the carpet burns on the knees.
No, I've got those knee pads that you use for roller skates for that.
Are you sure that's what the knee pads are for?
That or have them on the park bench.
What?
I'm skateboard,
man.
Dale Boy and Rodney, isn't it?
I'm being a bit naughty.
You've
today.
probably been banned from every park in Manchester now from all these comments. There's probably photos of you on the park gate saying, "Do not let this man in."
He's got a
because of a Bastel.
Yeah, the Bastel. He's got a life supply of Bastel instruments.
Have you bought that thing yet? I hope you have, because you bloody well should have one now.
Nobody
nobody
actually gets the joke, right? It's an in-house. Unless you've been watching the stream, which a lot of these people have, someone new to this channel will be like, "What are they talking about? Bastel? Are they rubbishing that company?"
Go back and watch it, because honestly, it was one of the funniest things ever. Me and Inky were just in bits, weren't we? We couldn't help ourselves. It was just the funniest thing ever. You did not say that, Darren. You really didn't.
It's actually, I'm overdue. I tell you what, I'm overdue for doing another funny part, sort of, where I've sort of grabbed bits of the show which are funny and put them together. The last time we did it, Inky got herself into a lot of trouble talking about pink synthesizers. Oh, it's a while ago now. She was
actually, there was that thing about there was the pink Novation Mini Nova or whatever it was.
Pink 303.
No, it was a pink. It was a pink 303. Yeah.
Well, there was a whole thing we did on pink synthesizers. Wasn't that was actually really funny. We should.
It was funny. Yeah,
we need to do something left field again. Something weird.
We have to. We have to. We have to exceed the pathetic humour of the funny side segment, which is not hard to do. I think you could do that quite simply.
It's pink and it's the Bastel.
It's pink Bastels. Inky's gone touch it.
Just behave, Darren.
Hang on. Inky said it. Here we go.
What's Inky just said? Yeah, it's pink.
Can't touch that.
Oh, come on, you stupid
you
thing.
Touch this. Do.
Goy's
Oh,
comments.
sorry, can't do that.
Goy's comments. Come on. There we go.
You can't touch
Oh,
so we need to do
Lisa,
that.
you're very naughty.
You guys know one of the funniest guys that's on our show regularly is Xils-labs. He's like seriously, I have to stop myself from laughing, mute myself, and go to Andy or something. Like so many times he lets out these. We have to get him on the show. He's a very funny man.
We'll get Axel on.
Yeah.
There's another guy who's around actually on some of these Synth chats. I don't know if he's been in this one very much. It's called Cheapo Card Company from and he's definitely from Manchester from his accent. So Darren, you look out for him. A guy called Cheapo Card Company. He's absolutely bloody hilarious. He really is, and I really recommend anybody go and look at Cheapo Card Company's YouTube channel. He does all these really silly songs, which are just bloody hilarious. They're absolutely killingly funny. I thoroughly recommend it. If you want a good hour of just laughing at silliness. Yeah, he's often on Sonic State, yeah. But he's really, really funny. One of the funniest things I've seen in ages. Cheapo Card Company. Go and check him out. I should find a link and stick it up, shouldn't I? But
yeah,
very good.
Look, I don't want to like I don't know what the word is. Egg Axel on a bit more, you know, because. But I just wanted to show you. This is the kind of stuff that he sends me.
That's brilliant.
It keeps going. Like, I don't know if you guys have.
So is Axel going to do? Is Axel going to do like a park bench with a pastel then?
Oh, now you've set him up, Darren.
He could run the whole meme segment. I'll just bring him on the show, and he can just run the whole meme segment. I mean, he just creates his own memes. Look at these. This is amazing. These are actually, like, he spent time. This was ages ago when he sent these to me. I've shown this before, but I just thought I'd bring them out again. What about this Ramsey's original jam? That is brilliant. Merchandise. Anyway. So that if you're ever wondering what I'm talking about, now you've got an idea about this gentleman's sense of humour. It is really, really good. Okay. So yeah, one of the things I would love to do is to do like the best of the memes, and it's really hard. I actually had a crack at trying to do it a couple of times over the last few years, and I thought to myself the other day, I want to have a go at it again. But I actually think the easier way to do it would be for you guys to, I don't know if we can set up some sort of poll or whatever. We've got to work out a way of, you know, of voting for the best meme each week, and then maybe at the end of the month we've got like a, you know, the best meme segment, because there's so many that we go through, and I've got a stack that are kind of waiting in the queue, and like there's just like some of them are just like hilarious. Like this one, this mate of mine sent me this photo of the pie that he bought at the footy, and I just added this little thing on it. You know, it's this kind of there's no meat.
There's a little raspberry pie in the corner.
So they're just like they're everywhere. These memes that you just get them out. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. Let me talk about one other little thing too. We do need to kind of change topics a bit. Dean, during the last couple of hours, we were mucking around with your audio, and I was talking about these DI boxes before, and I thought I'd bring them up again. So it's not an ad for radio. Radio, if you're listening and watching, please put the money on the fridge. These are kind of ground lifts. And if you've got massive sort of issues with your ground noises and stuff like that, and you can hear hisses and crackles and all that sort of stuff, there's a couple of different models that I've got that I use. Obviously, I'm not using them right now, but they've got the Jensen transformers in them, and they are a quality. They're a quality sort of transformer. And one of the things is about ground lifting is that you've got to have something that's got a fairly decent sort of filtering capacity in it, and it does a good job. Now, we're talking about this really briefly, and I know we've done this topic before, but I thought maybe because we've got a bit of extra time left on the show, what are some of your top tips? And we'll go sort of whichever direction you want, whoever wants to put their hand up first. What are some of your top tips? And this is really just to help Dean as well and me. And Dean, do you want to go first about getting rid of ground loop noise or noise in your studio? Dean, you can go first with your experience that we've just had. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. The one thing is keeping like the plug sockets, like double plug sockets, all that kind of stuff away from the speakers and everything like that, and using this box is one thing. Also, another great tip and idea is what you can do is Hessian bags. using Hessian bags with sand, and that can help. It's a different way of doing it. But just a couple of tips as I'm going along. There's a lot of analog equipment here. So.
Wait. Back the truck up. Hessian bags with sand. So can you just explain that a bit? Yeah.
Underneath the speakers, because that does the same thing. If you're getting feedbacks and stuff like that, you use them in bigger studios. And the studio engineers asked me, because I've got some building sand outside the front, and the first thing he said, and he's actually blind, I told him just mind the sandbag. He went, sand? He said, right, we need that. We're going to start getting some bags together and put them underneath speakers. It's a real good tip.
Right. I'll be the first to say I've never ever heard of that. So that's actually a really, really cool tip. All right. Who wants to go next? Who's got a good ground loop or a noise removal tip that they want to give people while we're talking about it? Because I think it's a pretty common thing, right? Especially with these USB powered devices, right? Who wants to go next? Hands up. Make a silly face.
Definitely use TRS cables if you can.
Darren?
I say if you can use TRS cables, and a bit like Dean said, make sure you don't have your plugs. Try and separate your wires. Anything that's carrying electricity, keep it away from anything that's carrying. Well, everything carries electricity, but anything audio. Especially when you're in a small studio like this, literally everything's touching everything. So I don't seem to suffer too much from ground noise. I've got to be honest. You can actually be all right. So if you're lucky, touch wood, I've not really suffered too much. I think the MX-1's a bit noisy though.
Well, we're getting heaps coming through from the chatties, so we can do. Let's do some of these as we go. All right, I'm not going to get every single one, but keep them coming in, chatties, and I'll see if I can try and grab them. Right, let's try. Let me just view the queue first. Make sure Inky's comment's gone. Good. Okay, let's give it a couple of seconds to wait for it to think, and then Inky's comment will come. It didn't. Rule number 1, make sure you can return the noise to its source. This way it cannot interfere with anything else. Okay, so if you can find it, which is what Dean was doing, and it ended up being my fault. But anyway, we won't talk about that. And the other one
what did that actually mean, Darryl? What did it mean, return the noise to its source? I'm not sure quite what that meant. It sounded very wise, but I wasn't clear what he meant with it. Make sure you can return the noise to its source.
Let him answer that. We'll do that because I don't want to tread on his toes. He's got a few ideas up his sleeve.
Actually, ask yourself if you can unpick that. That would be useful because I don't really understand what you're meaning.
Right. The next one was Native VS. He said, run everything on a balanced cabling where possible. This is the one I'm kind of big on as well, so I'm with him here. Use decent balanced transformers such as the, I don't even know how to pronounce it, the L something or other 1527 or the Nutric NTI1. And I don't know what, I lost the rest of the message. It said something about run everything else on one phase. That's what he said, if that's an issue. When he's saying one phase, I guess he's talking about power phases, I think. So you might want to just quickly, are you talking about audio phases or power phases on that one? So that would probably be a good thing to mention. Now, did Axelsoft elaborate? Let me see.
Only to say he's going to do a lecture on it.
Yeah, he did mention earlier in the chat that he wants to do a video on this. So maybe let's promote that when he comes up with it. I think if someone's really, really knowledgeable in this area, I think a lot of people would learn from it. Now, there's heaps of other tips coming in. Find the source of the problem instead of trying to fix it. It says ASIO head, power everything from a giant donkey wheel, says Wagoo. Okay.
Makes sense.
I mean, I know I've had a few beers, but did that comment really exist? No. You can only get interference if noise escapes from a device. It can be created, no problem, as long as it does not emit. So basically what he's saying is, find the device that's emitting the noise and then remove it, basically. Yeah, I think that's pretty sort of sensible.
Hell, that would be synths.
Yeah, so I thought Native VS was talking about power. So yeah, so some studios may have access to 3-phase power, and some studios might just have a standard household type studio, and you've only got single-phase power. And one of the cool things that Native VS has brought up is it's probably more to do with the ground side of things than anything. But if you're, for example, if you're powering something on a 3-phase sort of power thing, and you've got stuff that's plugged into one phase and another thing that's plugged into another, and you're bringing them into the same mixing desk, that's where you get the ground loop issues. I'm pretty sure that's kind of what he's trying to say there. So yeah. Now, what about those cheap little sort of 3.5mm things that have got the kind of black little cylindrical box around it that you buy from Amazon? Are they any good? Does everyone own a couple of those? Do they use them on their Roland boutiques? Does that actually get rid of ground loop noise? Have you tried those? No?
I've never tried one, so I don't know.
The little cheap.
No, I don't think
3.5.
they'll fix that problem. It's a different thing, right? It's just a toroid, like a magnetic shield for protecting.
They were more for the cars
device.
originally, weren't they? They were more for car audio and that sort of problem, weren't they? Yeah.
So I have had, I think, or I have for my key step. There's one of those like magnetic things, or bumps at the end. But that's more about protecting the device rather than fixing any ground loop and noises, right? So I don't think that'll help. But I'm not the expert on electronics, if you will, electrical engineering. So I can't answer that. But I haven't seen that resolve any of the problems that I had. What I do in order to fix noise and ground loops is just isolate things. Don't use the same power source for multiple devices. If you want to do that, make sure that you have isolated power, and basically have separate PSUs for the devices if they're sharing the same effect chain or mixer and stuff like that. So it's just like Darren said before, separate the power with the signal, and also make sure that you don't use the same power to multiple boxes, because not just ground loops and stuff can happen. It can happen some weird things. I think for my Volcas, I was sharing power from one of the same PSU. And I had a couple of Volcas, and I was sharing the power to 2 different FX pedals from one of the same power supply unit. And that created a lot of weird things and interference between the devices. So what I had to do is just separate the power. So I had separate PSUs for the FX boxes. Then everything was okay, right? So it might be a little bit more expensive having one power supply, one device, but I've seen that do a lot of good, specifically when it comes to the USB power devices, because you could be, I think, tempted using one of these that has multiple outlets. We just take like multiple USB cables from one of the same source and plug them into different units. I had 3 Roland boutique devices at loan back in the day when I was living in Malaysia, and that didn't work at all. I had so much ground loop and mess, so I just had to completely disband that idea and have one separate power supply for each unit. That did the trick. Yeah,
that's actually a good one. Now this one is also a common one that people come across, and that's what I'm showing here is the Arturia solution to the BeatStep Pro, where they give you this kind of splitter, and half of it goes off to power and the other half goes off to, they call it PC, which is the data side. But notice also that you've got the ferrite cage there, and you've also got another one on the standard, micro USB cable. So that is one solution that you can sort of get around with the USB side of stuff. What Berg said before though about using separate actual physical USB power outlets is actually also another good idea. So yeah. One of those is good. It does work. Now, I still have a problem with my BeatStep Pro, even after using that, where I have to power it from this, which is a battery unit. If I don't power my BeatStep from the battery unit, I get ground loop noise all throughout my Eurorack setup, which is absolutely shocking. And if I power it through this, which I've got permanently connected to its recharge port, so it's never going to run out of power, it goes. So obviously there's circuitry in that which it's, you know, feeding the power from the battery, but it's not connected to the mains power where it's being charged. So that tends to get me around the problem. So people do have massive ground loop noise issues. It's everywhere. It's all over the world, and the biggest issue is probably USB as a cause. I think Mac talked about how some people cover up the ground pin on the USB connector, which I don't know how they cover it up, but what do they do, glue it or something? I'm not sure. But some people do that to try and get around the issue. So I'm not really sure how that works, but yeah, so yeah. And also let's bring, I mean, 1 million comments coming in from everyone in the chat about ideas about what they can do to use for their ground loop noise issues. You can see there Sasquatch has said USB hubs can be incredibly noisy, and I think some brands can be, because they're cheap. There might be an Amazon type USB hub you've got and it's just built on the cheap, and others can be really, really good. There are, you know, Max saying there's USB isolators. They're talking about, there's guys talking about what the ferrite core is actually used for. Some really, really good, knowledgeable people here. So, yeah. If you kind of see someone who seems to, you know, have your problems solved by a comment that they've said, you know, just chat to them directly in the chat room, because, you know, this is what these shows are about, is connecting people. Isolated power supplies is a good one. I've done videos on this stuff before. So one of the videos that I did many, many years ago was when you've got multiple Korg Volkers and you're powering those, you can get ground loop noise through, because you're chaining your Volkers through those pulse connections, the trigger connections on them. And I bought this thing called a one-stop power, which has had every single DC outlet on it is actually isolated, and I never ever had a problem ever again with Korg Volker issues. So there's so many things that you can do. Now, who mentioned before about the isolated power? Was that you, Andy? Who was it that mentioned about the isolated power?
I don't know if it was me. I mean, I just held that thing up. I think you can see that. I bought these from Asda, a supermarket chain, and these are just from Polaroid. There they are. They're Polaroid USB power supplies. They've got 2 USB outs. I bought a few of these, and I use them. One I've got connected to the SH01A, also a boutique, which only has USB power. Another one I've got onto the BeatStep Pro, because that's also USB power. I deliberately decided not to run them both off the same one. I think that was a good decision, because when I was running the BeatStep Pro from the computer USB and a passive hub, oh, that was horrible. It really was horrible. That didn't work at all. I've got a powered hub now, which was better, but still not great. And then this thing just solved the problem. I've also got that splitter cable, so I can have the BeatStep Pro connected to the computer and also powered off this, so it's not powering from 2 sources, it's just coming off this plug, and that avoids the nasty hum, because you can get that. I mean, USB power is clearly a nasty piece of work, and we should do our level best to avoid it wherever we can. It's not helpful. In fact, I wish manufacturers would stop putting USB power on their devices. I just don't think it's helpful to anybody. Put a USB socket on it, yeah, cool, but don't power it via USB. That's just cheap and nasty and doesn't help anybody. And
I really don't think they've done anything to really solve it, have they? I think we've got to keep coming up with ways around it. But really, the root of the cause of the evil here is the USB power, isn't it? Yeah. You've got power and data and all sorts of things. I mean, some of that data is audio data. Some of it's just, technical data. I never thought it was a good idea. I always thought, what? Why would you do that? That's a really bad idea. But I'm not technical enough to know the ins and outs of it, so I just take sledgehammer solutions to crack me nut, as it were. I've got a big sledgehammer in the garage. You can borrow that anytime. Yeah, it's almost
It's a long way to come to borrow a sledgehammer, Rams.
it's almost too hard to lift. That's how big this thing is. I call it therapy. That's its name. I work in the
With
IT
or without
industry.
a question mark.
Let me just tell you, I work in the IT industry, and there's been a few computer devices that has met its match with that sledgehammer in the past. So yes, therapy works. One day a synth is going to meet it too. I'm sure there'll be a synth that will do my head in, and I'm just going to take it out there, and I'm just going to go bang. There might be a ground loop noise synth while we're talking about it. Okay, so here's a really good question. Berg and everyone else who was watching all the sort of ideas that we came up with today, what do you think about some of the advice that you had today? Is that going to put you back on track? Have you got some really, really good ideas now from today's show? We covered quite a lot of different topics today, which I thought was interesting. Instead of doing one topic, we've done a lot. We talked about writer's block. We talked about mixing. We talked about learning musical theory. We talked about ground loop noise. So yeah, are you going to go away from today's show? Are you going to feel like you've got something to sort of a bit of a whistle in your walk, or what about you, Berg? How are you feeling with your writer's block? Are you kind of a bit more motivated now?
I am definitely, being amongst friends, talking about synth and stuff that I love is really the best medicine for, breaking out of this bad downward spiral, if you will, of the black hole of writer's block. So from my perspective, I think I have good ideas. I already have a track that I sort of kind of started earlier today before I, connected all the stuff and realized my audio card wasn't working properly. But I'm getting there. I think I'm calming down, and it's part of removing the work-related stress, getting into a more enjoyable situation, really, like in the studio and having a couple of beers and just having great fun. And that for me is, I think, a good medicine to get back into the ropes, if you will. I already have a track that I started before that I most probably will be able to complete. Maybe not fully, but at least I'm going to have an idea at the later end of the day. So definitely, I think that's this whole show today with, all the wonderful people, yourself and the guests and all the chatties, as really helps me, to cut loose from the daily pressure, if you will, right?
Yeah, some really, really good points. Now, I just wanted to mention quickly that Heleno's jumped into the chat room, and he's one of our patrons, which is very, very much appreciated. And one of the reasons why we did the ground loop noise topic and the power topic just then was actually that was one of the questions that he asked. So it was completely by luck that he happens to be watching, which is awesome, and that always works well. So that now means I don't have to go over to him later and say, watch this stream, because at the end we talked about exactly your question. So just thought I'd give him a shout out anyway. And obviously there's a few other patrons of mine in the chat room, so appreciate you guys and all your support as well. And if you are wondering about what Patreons are for and why does Rands need patrons, well, I don't really need them, but the reason why they're there is because they get a little bit more sort of extra special care and attention from me. And I'll give you an example. So the last stream that we did yesterday, where I had the guys from Sonicware and we're talking about the Live and XFM, and I invited one of my patrons on as a special guest. So they're the sort of things that I like to do with my patrons, as well as add content and everything as well. Don't forget to, I always talk about Discord, and one of the things that I do during the week is I chat in Discord, and Berg knows this. I'm quite active in the Discord, so if you're wondering what the address is, it's literally, it's really easy to remember. It's actually bit.ly Ramsey Discord, and I've just chucked it in the chat room now. If you aren't on Discord and you think, what the hell is Discord? Why do I need it? Just try it out, because it's kind of like talking about what we talk about on this show, but you can kind of talk about it all week if you want, if that's what floats your boat. So don't forget to do that. Now, Darren, I'm going to put to you, time to sort of wrap up the show. Any tracks coming out? I know you said you got a crook back. Anything coming out?
I've not been in the studio this week to do anything. I've got lots of tracks that are only partly finished, so I'll never get one up in time for tomorrow. But what I am going to do, if you didn't watch the track last week, by the way, Darren's Techno Piano, I advise you to go and watch that. But what I will do tomorrow is I will put a sneaky picture of the view of my control surface in front of me of the studio, because it's not far off being finished now. So if you do decide to check my channel out, you will see that, and that's what I'll be up tomorrow. I might put a tune behind it if we get a chance.
Oh, exciting. Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Berg, any kind of news you want to announce? This is a really good time to do it. Anything for yourself?
Oh, yes,
your channel?
yes. I mean, I'm still working on my album. I've done maybe 5 or 6 tracks, I think, altogether. And the year is to have that completed within 2021. Still have a few months to go, right? And in the midst of that, obviously, there's going to be a big move because I've just purchased a house down on the countryside. So I'm going to get to rebuild my entire setup into a new location, which I think is a good thing because, you know, currently I'm in an apartment. It's like a rental kind of thing. And the house is going to be like our own place. And hopefully it'll be the last place that I move to, right? So I can make that into, you know, the studio space that I really want it to be. And for me, I think the main projects that I'm working on is just having the album and having that finalized as quickly as possible. I've done 5 tracks, you know, by myself, and also had a 6th track where I did a collaboration, you know, tune with all of my patrons. So all the patrons, they sent in their own sound material, and I used that in order to create an ambient track, which was actually pretty cool. So I didn't get to add any sounds whatsoever on top of that. So for me,
awesome.
That's you know, kind of a, yeah, it's really like a you know, milestone for me doing the collaboration with all of my patrons and the guys and girls over there, right? And I think that's a good way also, you know, feeling that you're part of making the album that I'm doing together with everybody. So really, if you like my stuff, just pop in over my Patreon. It's minimum $1. And you get a lot of extras and also a lot of insights on the whole process from start to finish. Because one of the things that I do is I break down each and every track in, you know, the smallest, you know, bits and pieces for everybody to analyze and see what's going on. So hopefully that'll give some insights to everybody who's listening and watching. And also at the same time for myself, I actually get to analyze the things that I'm doing and learning some stuff from it myself. So it's kind of a, you know, I hate the term, but it's really a win-win situation.
No, it's good. I mean, you know, complete transparency. I'm one of your Patreons, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome, Ernst.
Awesome.
Love your support, man.
No, you deserve it, buddy. All right, Dean. Any sort of parting messages from you? What are you up to during the week? Anything you want to sort of tell everyone here? The whole world's watching. Don't get scared.
Oh, God. Yeah. It's, all's kind of going nicely as such, nice and slowly. It's nice to get the audio going, so I've got this now working.
Yay, we got some sounds.
There's some sound, yeah. That's the that's that one. That's Michael Korg, yeah. So yeah, it's just been nice getting that going, getting the MIDI together now, getting it all linked up. Working together with my friend Steve Burge, which, you know, he's a blind drummer, and I think he's one of the only world live drummers who has got the license to do teaching. He's an amazing guy. He's done all this studio, and to see him work and work together with him is an absolute pleasure. So we're getting together. He's got a site, so we're going to be helping each other out, and then I'm going to be helping him with his site's already up. We're doing some videos and stuff and getting some YouTube up, and I'm going to be starting out venturing into the YouTube world because I've majorly always just done music and I like to write. So yeah, so now, it's really nice. So, you know, going into this new phase of old age.
Now, Dean, I know I'm in your little top right-hand corner there, but I know I speak probably for everyone here. We kind of really want to get into your studio a bit more, and the only way for us to really do that is virtually. So I think maybe we'll reserve a spot for you next week on the show, and we can have a little bit of a tour of some of the sounds. I think now that we've got some of the sounds working, I think everyone would be keen to hear some of the sounds of some of your gear, and it's completely up to you how deep you want to go. But I think that would be really, really cool. I think a bit of a sort of tour would be cool. You up for that? Put you on the spot?
Yeah, definitely 100%. I'd love to just share what I've got here. You know, I'm just so lucky, I really am, and I'm so grateful, you know, for a position I've got myself. So I can go around and get all the classics out, the digitals there behind me, and then we can travel around and hope give a bit of a explanation and just a quick little tour and say what some of these synths were used on, some of the bands that used them. It's lovely, you know, we've got Mini Moog here, Poly 6, and RPAX, Odyssey.
Yeah.
All lovely major classics are just unbelievable. MS-20, you know, they sound beautiful. So I'll get something set up and nicely planned so I can keep it nice and efficient for the show and hopefully for the quality. So.
Yeah. Sounds really, really good. And over to Andy. Really cool to have you back, mate. What do you got plans for during the week? I know you mentioned that you've got a video on its way out or just about to come out.
Oh, I say on its way out. I haven't done it yet. I'll do it. I've just been messing about, like I said, with the modular case and just making it do sort of clangorous atonal things and just trying to get to grips with that side of it. What's in store? Well, lockdown is coming to a sort of an end. I think I've got another week of working from home, and then we'll be back actually in the good old school and traveling to work and stuff. Interesting. I mean, I've been sitting in this room, basically doing my job for the last however many weeks, and when you've been sitting in a space working, it's sort of the last place you want to be when you want to have some downtime and to relax. And I found that quite hard to deal with. So it sounds silly, but I'm actually quite looking forward to getting back into work and the workplace so that when I come back here, this is mine and not work's, if you understand me. So, because it's
you got to make it creative again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm also interested because, you know, Berg's talking about moving house and having to dismantle everything and reset it up. I've realised that in here, now that I've got this case, this modular case, that this arrangement here is not working, and I'm going to have a rethink and a reorganisation of how that fits. So, and as you know, when you've got a good number of little boxes, it does take some planning. But I'm going to have to do it to make it work as a system, because at the moment. The modular isn't connected up to anything else. It's just sitting there being its own thing. Yeah.
I tell you what is working, and it's definitely not a dig at anyone. It's just me. Having this right here.
Well, you've gone the whole 2 hours
it's so nice.
Mentioning it, Lance, which must have been a marathon effort. It does look lovely. In fact, that whole wall looks great. It really does look lovely. That I'm quite envious of that.
I'll be honest with you, though. I will be honest.
Rush out and buy one.
Makes a nice drone, doesn't it, Rance?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry. We won't talk about that. I'll just lift this slider up here, shall I? No. So I will admit that I would obviously prefer to have the real, I think I mentioned this last week, I would prefer to have the real ARP 2600, but obviously it's not going to be for me. I don't have that sort of money to splash around. I probably would have gone with the Korg, the mini version, because I think it's going to probably be about the same form factor. But I don't know, I kind of felt that this little rack mount idea, it just fits in really, really nice with, you know, what I've got planned with my Eurorack cases here. I just think that that's going to probably work better for me. So in a way, there's probably not really any difference. Someone might argue with this, but I don't think there's really going to be any sort of major difference between what comes out the back of the Behringer and what comes out the back of the Korg. They're going to sound pretty similar. I think it's more to do with the user interface and the functionality of how you set up your gear. So for me, that is working for me, and definitely enjoying. And I think I've got it plugged in. It's always plugged in, turned on, and you can muck around with it. So I think we'll wrap the show up, guys. What do you think? It's just hit midnight here in Australia. So in the western part of Australia, anyway, it's probably way past midnight on the other side of Australia. I don't know what it's like over there in your part of the world, but signing off for the end of the Saturday evening-ish, afternoon for you, whatever it is. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your weekend. Tomorrow I'm off to pick the dog shit up off the back lawn. So if you're wondering if that's what I'm up to on a Sunday, yes, it's in fact beautiful things to do I have to do on a Sunday. Anyway, see you later, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Take care, folks.
And we're going to hit this button now.